ready. You can just say, whatever.
All right, sounds good. We live?
I think we're
Go
live.
live. Yeah, tell me when you're ready. We'll get this started.
Cool. Ready to go.
Ready to go with this. So, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Pod-A-Holics, the number one podcast that you need to be listening to if you want to level up your health, your wealth, and your relationships. So today what we're going to be talking about is business owners and falling traps to quitting on themselves and working for someone else when they want to give up on their dreams because they don't know how to own and operate a business. Kevin, this is a big problem I'm seeing with a lot of entrepreneurs right now is giving up on themselves and their dreams because
Mm.
it breaks me down. All these aspiring entrepreneurs, all these business owners who want to have something successful, giving up on themselves and going back to 9 to 5. Like, I know you
hmm
see that all the time.
All the time. It's funny. We were laughing the other day because Sammy was in here, and we were joking. But Sammy would actually be a perfect person for this episode, because he's had like some business partners that have fallen off, and he's an entrepreneur himself, right? He's got the video game lounge Level Up, and then he's also got an ice cream shop, um, and he's done a few other things. And his biggest problem is it seems like people just always drop off on him, and they're just never ready to to like hold the candle for as long as possible. I mean, that happens with like our niche as well. Like the fitness industry is like what you wrote down in our little like recap and notes here is that like a lot of people go and fall back on um like they haven't really given 100% and they already have like a backup plan, right? It's
Mhm.
one thing if like if you have like all in chips all in on like a fitness business or like your entrepreneurial kind of path, and then things just don't work out and then you're running into a wall where you have to pay bills, that's a reason for you to go get a job. But if you're like starting and you're just getting going, you're like, man, I don't know if I want to give it 100%. Like I'm okay on cash, I'm okay on money, but I don't know if I want to give it 100%. I think that's the problem. Like if you're good on money, if you're okay, you can pay your bills and all the things, go 100%. Go
Mhm.
100%. You know, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, and like kind of going off like what we talked about on Monday there when we were talking about how some people just have their one foot already out the door to some,
Mhm.
and this is something where I find a lot of people struggle is that
Mhm.
whole this idea figure things on the fly with getting a job or diving in. It's like, you know what, at the end of the day, even if you are looking at it this way, if you took the time that you're going to be putting towards another job, because first off,
Mhm.
to get you're gonna have to go through an interview, then you have to get hired, then you have to get onboarded, then you have to get trained, and then you can start getting your hours. So it's gonna be like a month before you get paid anyways.
Yeah.
So like that in itself, the whole I need to get a job is already just something that's an emotional response. Where if you really look at it and you take the time into consideration, how much time you're actually be spending towards that job to get some minimum wage or just to scratch and claw your way to pay a bill, you could take this same time and put that into yourself and your business, and you can go generate that money as fast as you can doing that. But the problem is that leading up to that moment where they're like, I need to go get a job or I need to double down on myself, and they're kind of looking down the barrel of a shotgun and you need to make a decision quick, they
Mhm.
go with the decision that's like pretty much like a guarantee, like you're going to be guaranteed this much, opposed which is giving you like it's not like a very comfortable place to be, but at least it's a familiar place of comfort to where you're guaranteed, let's say, 1,000, 1,500 bucks to cover your bills.
Mhm.
Where if you look at the other side and you're not guaranteed any money, but you're also that there's no glass ceiling there, you're not going to take that decision because you are unfamiliar in that environment, guaranteed.
Mhm.
Even though if you took, let's say, a quarter of the time you're going to your job and actually intentionally put it towards yourself, you would generate more to that than that job. But it's because you're
Mhm.
so worried about, is this going to work out? Am I going to be successful? You up into that one exact moment, and then you don't even do the things you need to do to be successful. Because like that part too,
Yeah.
especially when I've talked to other coaches, I'm sure you have too. When they say, "Oh, I'm doing lead," this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And you're like, if you're intentionally doing that 100% and as much as you are, then there's absolutely zero way you should not be able to do this, because that's where the disconnect is. They'll say they're doing all this, but realistically, it's like send one message, scroll on Instagram, write a post, sit on the couch for 2 hours, like
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth between shit. It's like, so are you intentionally doing the tasks you need to do, or are you distracted and you're consistently worried about all the things going on and not doing what you need to, which is now put you
Mm-hmm.
in this position where you need to go get structure again,
Mm-hmm.
because that's all a job gives you, is just structure,
Pretty much what it is.
right?
It's a
So like when you
structured. It's a structured like A to Z. Here's what it is
mhm.
every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, A to Z, and you'll get this at the end of it, where when you're an entrepreneur, there is no A to Z.
There's no A to Z.
It's ACX45 exclamation point.
There's some numbers.
There's some numbers, some ampersands, some symbols. Fuck it,
Yeah.
even an emoji.
Yeah, an
There are probably a
emoji
couple
nowadays.
emojis in there.
A couple emojis. That's
And they're
funny.
not the happy emojis.
Not the happy emojis.
But I don't know, man. Like, so when you're kind of like looking at why people fall into these traps, and then when they get to these desperation points, I see this all the time. But coaches will give up on their training businesses. And again, these are coaches that have either like quit their 9 to 5, left the gym, or whatever. But then they quit their own business and then they go work for like another coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think two things come from that is lack of self-awareness. So what I mean by that is like if you know you're not good at something, or actually, sorry, I can't start it that way because they don't know. They lack the self-awareness. But let's say like for example, with online coaching, all of you online coaches that listen to this, if you're sitting there wanting to book calls on a day-to-day basis and maybe it's just not working out for you, then maybe your image as to how you show up online just isn't good. And you don't go audit the things that are face value to the people that you're communicating with, right? That is one example, like how you look on social media. And if you don't consistently look at, okay, cool, how is my conversation? I'm not booking calls, that's fine, but let's try to be self-aware here. How are my conversations like? Am I friendly? Am I open to conversation? Am I asking the right questions? Have I gotten help to make these conversations better? And if the conversations look good, you can check it off. You move on to the next thing. How are my profiles looking? Do I look like a fun person? Do I look like a person who is easy to be around? Do I look like a person who enjoys fitness? Like all the things, right? And let's say that that's not the one. And then there could be several other things that kind of incorporate it. How does my profile look as far as like links? Who am I following? Does that make a difference? Right? How consistently am I posting? And a lot of coaches don't go and audit themselves and they keep doing the same task every single day and they become less and less self-aware as to what they need to actually change up because they're afraid to go and audit themselves and they're
Mm.
definitely afraid to go and ask for other people to audit them. So if you're not booking calls, I'm not going to say any names or anything, but we've had some students. You just had one the other day where the person just didn't show up to the call. And this person specifically wasn't booking calls. They weren't booking them. And then you also don't show up to your training call to then figure out why you're not booking them. That's like the worst self-awareness you can have.
Yeah.
Right. So things like that, if you can become more self-aware, that's going to be a really, really solid path to learning how to grind it out a little bit more before saying, fuck it, I got to get a job.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with that. Where, you know, at the end of the day, if you kind of look at it, like none of us like to admit like we're doing something wrong. So when you go
Mm-hmm.
audit like your own stuff, it kind of sucks
Yeah.
to do.
100%.
But again, I'll audit my shit all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'll
Same.
go into it, like I'll look at my content. I'm like, okay, like this was good, okay, this wasn't as good. Then you'll kind of
Yeah.
see like my content will go through like some ebbs and flows, like where I'll be getting bangers and bangers, and then like it'll like be like, okay, a couple thousand views on those, and then like 100 and a million, and it's like, okay, there we go, now we're back up. And then it's because I'm auditing what I'm doing, I'm not staying stagnant, which
Yes.
is something else we talked about on Monday, which is when you're stagnant, this is now where you're gonna get replaced. When you're stagnant, you're going to get moved past, because life and social media and the world, it's always moving. It's always
Mhm.
changing. It's always evolving. So you need to be
Yes.
able to adapt. Like going back to basic Darwinism is the survival of the fittest. If you can't disrupt the system and be able to get your stuff out there in front of others, then you're gonna get weeded out. That's just how it works. If you
Yes.
look at anything, like again and again, if you just go back to just basic like primal instincts or animals or whatever you want to do, but at the end of the day, it's not always about the biggest and the strongest and the most talented and all
Mhm.
that, because if you really look at it, then there'd be no diversity. Everyone would be big fucking alpha, just everything dominant. Like that's not how it
Yep.
works. There's all these different personalities. There's all these different understandings and perceptions and
Yep.
people, and all this happens, and all this has happened because we were able to disrupt the system and be able to figure out what we needed to do to get our genome out there in front of the other. So that means if let's say like a lion or whatever, if there's a smaller lion in a pride and he knows that he can't physically dominate the alpha, then he needs to do some shit to be able to pass his genome on to the next.
Mhm.
So he has to be able to disrupt that system of that alpha's stronghold and be able to do that. And like that goes through any societal shift as well. There's always something that's going to break. So we can even take into consideration okay, like if you look at a SoundCloud rapper, like a SoundCloud rapper, like like they'll come onto the scene and
Mhm.
then they'll make a disruption and they'll blow up, but then
Mhm.
unless they can continue on, they're gonna fade out. So for example, like Lil Pump, he
Mhm.
was huge for a long time. I haven't heard a fucking song from him, and I can't tell you how
Not
long.
not not yeah.
No, but then you take someone like I don't know, fucking 6ix9ine for example. You got this guy coming on, and he wants to be gangster. He wants to do all this like fit in, and he's Spanish with rainbows, trying to fit into a thug life. It's like
Mhm.
okay, like I don't know how that's really gonna work, but then he made a disruption, and he was able to capitalize on his marketing and his ability to be vulgar and outlandish and doing the shit he was doing to blow up. He like marketing fucking genius. Like
Mhm.
whatever he did, like I
Yeah.
don't really give a. I don't know the story. I don't really give
No,
a shit.
six
But the
nine.
fact that
I
he's so
follow him.
marketing,
Yeah, I follow a lot about. I was actually looking into him a little bit more the other day because something popped up. But it's so crazy. Like he, for those of you who don't know who the rapper 6ix9ine is, outlandish guy. You probably have
the
seen
rapper with
something.
rainbow fucking
The
teeth and
yeah.
hair. There you go.
So, but it's crazy how his whole like celebrity position skyrocketed so high. I mean, like high, so fast. Like I felt
Oh,
like I
yo,
listened to
yeah.
that first song, and like 3 months later, he was like top one every single time, and then all of a sudden, everything kind of falls, really fast.
Still around. He's still doing shit.
Yeah.
He's still around doing shit. I see him all over social media. So
Hmm.
I'm like, but then it's even like the ability to keep on going down that. So like that was kind of like the like the comparison I was wanting to make is that even though like, let's say Lil Pumpy came on and again like very similar to 6ix9ine a little bit and like a bunch of other SoundCloud rappers, but then like it all kind of died off. And
Hmm.
well, honestly, like J. Cole kind of called it. But that being said, but again, the reason why J. Cole's been around for so long is because he's been able to adapt to change because he also has his own whole style and he's
Very
disrupted.
self-aware, very
Yeah,
self-aware rapper.
exactly.
Understands how he should adapt to things. Like J. Cole before is very different than J. Cole now.
Exactly. And like that's where now tying it back into business owners and things like, you know what? If you're doing the same shit that
Hmm.
everyone else is doing and you're not disrupting the system, then yeah, when you're looking at people like, oh, well, they got 100 millions, this person's getting all these views. It's like, yeah, because we're not doing the same shit that everyone else is doing, and we're disrupting the flow of things.
Yeah.
We can create our own space. That's what you need to do. Then the other part of that is being self-aware, but then there's also the other side of this that self-aware that you know what, some people just don't want to do it by themselves. I'll tell you this right now: like having your own business and like at the top of yourself, having to manage and do all these things, it can get kind of shitty. I won't lie, and it can be very lonesome unless you're self-motivated, self-driven, well, self-pushing, let's call it, you're
Mhm.
you're going to struggle there because some people like to work in a team. Some people like to be in that team environment to bounce ideas off each other, to be able to, if they're not pulling their 100%, the other one can now pick them back up. And some people enjoy that. Some people need that, which is
Yeah.
okay. That's understanding. So now when you start looking at it for those that are falling off in their business, well, again, whether they're fitness coaches, whether they're realtors, whether they're brick and mortar shop owners, like whatever the case is you need to make sure that you are consistently pushing yourself in this. But if you understand that that's not the environment you like to work in, and you like to do certain aspects of a business. So a lot of coaches, the reason why they fall to other coaches' businesses is because one, they want to work with a team, because honestly, being in a team environment, you're working with other people,
Super
it's
fun.
fun.
I
It's
was
fun.
talking to you
It's
about
fun.
this the other day.
Yeah, it's
That
fun.
I'm very much like that. Like I can't operate solo. I really can't. Like
No,
I
and it's
can't just
hard.
be like a software engineer and be work from home and literally never talk to a team. I couldn't do that. It would drive me nuts.
No, and it's difficult. And then there's some things that, you know what? At the end of the day, some things in business fucking suck.
Hmm.
It sucks. I'm not gonna lie. There's some shit that I just don't want to do. I
Yep.
absolutely, which is also where you need to look at it as one, understanding, being self-aware that that's not a spot that you're necessarily good at. Two options. Number one, you get better at it, which is going to take time. You're going
Hmm.
to have to take energy and effort. Number two is outsourcing. Able to get resourceful. If you're not good at something, you can either get better at it, or you can get resourceful and get something in position that's going to deal with that for you. So it's going to open up your time to do other things. It's going to lead you to more money generating activities. Or again, let's say you don't even, let's say you're not good at marketing. Some people are not fucking good at marketing, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That's why there's marketing coaches. That's why I'd say 90% of the calls I do, it's all content coaching,
Yeah.
because some people just don't want to do it. Some people are, it's not even that they don't want to do it. It's they either just don't have that creative ability, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I can't fucking draw. I know that. So if I'm gonna go get a tattoo, I'm not gonna take my bummy ass stick fucking figure into a tattoo shop. Like, tattoo this. Like, no, my homie will look at me and be like,
Hmm.
Corey, no, that's not happening. So again, I know my ability. I know my lane. I stay within it. I'm creative. I can create content. I can choreograph. I can film. I can do all that shit. You get me to draw a picture. Good one. But again, that's where now for me, I'm not gonna go draw a picture.
Well,
Right?
just
Same
just
thing
as
why
an
I don't like
example,
I don't like
the
taxes, why I'm an accountant.
the whole like we're now obviously going into YouTube and whatnot. Do I know a little bit about video editing? Yes. But what did I go do for our intro video? I went and asked
Outsourced it.
somebody. I outsourced it. Could I sit here? I'm actually still learning. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm sure as hell not going to put our, our baby of the podcast in my hands and say, this is good enough. No, like if I could pay somebody 100, $200 or whatever to create a really baller video like we got, then great. Could I learn? Yes, but like I gotta be self-aware. Like right now is not the moment. And that's another thing. Is like maybe right now is not the moment to try things out that I'm not good at without outsourcing them first. And that's where a lot of people fuck up too, is like they want to
Well,
learn, and you can get there, but if you need to gain more confidence, so for example, it's like being an assistant coach. Either you wanted to be an assistant coach from the beginning and you had no intentions on ever being a business owner, or you're a business owner, then you want to go be an assistant coach for whatever reason.
or you
Sometimes
just
it's like,
love being or you just love being a coach and you just hated working for the fucking gym making shitty
yes,
ass money.
but let's say that you wanted to be a business owner, and you try to dive into it, and you knew that you weren't good at like messaging people online, um or you were good at messaging people online, but you knew you weren't good at marketing, and you're sitting there trying to look up like cool marketing videos, and the first thing you find is like, as a guy, you find some chick that's doing a lot of cool videos, and you're trying to mimic all these things, and you're trying this out, but it's not necessarily right for you because these are some chicks videos and you're trying to dudify it, right? And here the better sense is to go find a dude ask for help. Like, hey man, what makes your profile so awesome? Can you teach me? Instead of sitting there trying to spin your wheels. Honestly, I'm speaking about myself truthfully, because like when I first got into the fitness industry online, all I was like, man, the girls seem to like have it down. So like, let me dutify this, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And this is more so like a personal experience for me, right? So I was like, man, like this obviously isn't gonna work. I gotta look at some of the, because I never saw a lot of guys in the space like 2017. There were not a lot of guys in the space
I
when it
wasn't
came
even
to
on
like,
Instagram yet.
yeah. So there really weren't a lot of guys in the space. My personal opinion, unless I just didn't see them. So again, I'm over here like pulling fucking things from like profiles, girls specifically. I'm like, let me dutify this, let me make it this way, and it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So from personal experience, I'm not shitting on the guys who are, or on the people who are listening to this podcast. I'm like, Kevin, what are you talking about? If you're looking for marketing, it would only make sense to go and look. No, dude, it happens. Like if you're anything like me, you're gonna go look at the wrong things sometimes and not ask for help. It happens. And now, and now,
That's
and
the
now
other
you're sitting
problem.
here listening to me talk. So fuck you if you think that I'm not coming from a valid point, right? If you're so the big
So
thing is
fuck
if you
you.
can, if if you're starting new, try to find help in the things that you're not good at. I knew I was good at talking to people, but I wasn't good at marketing, and I was trying to do it all on my own, and it just led to me being like really unmotivated about going online, really unmotivated about being a coach, and having way too many fucking ideas everywhere. And then it led to other things where I almost gave up, kind of thing.
No, and that's the exact thing. You can find ways around doing the things that you're not necessarily good at doing. It's gonna help because number one, when you ask for help, you're gonna learn. It's not like you're gonna ask for help and then you're not gonna learn anything. It's just gonna get done for you. No, like you're gonna have to learn certain skills. You're still gonna have to go do certain things, but it's taking the guessing game out of it. It's taking the trial and error out of it. It's taking the navigating a space you don't know where. It's like going on a road trip and not knowing, like knowing where you want to go, but you didn't even look at a map to get there. Like, are you really gonna get
Mm-hmm.
there? Maybe eventually. It'll take you a fucking while, but probably have to look at a map again. Same type of a thing. So when you're looking at doing all these things, you figure out what you're good at, and then what is it that you can put towards developing specific skills, and then what things do you just need to outsource. But that's the other
Yeah.
part with it is so many people, they just try to keep doing this their own, and then they burn out and they want to just quit
Yep.
because number one, they think that asking for help is so bad. I have people ask me for help on their content all the time on social media that aren't even NLCA students. Like they're either students like I've worked with at 10K Academy,
Yeah.
coaches that have been following me for a while, people that just love my fucking videos and like, Corey, like how do you make reels and TikTok? Like I have zero problem giving you tips, pieces of advice, like certain like little things like that. Like I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people miss out on is they think everyone is an asshole.
Dude, and that's the thing. What were we talking about the other day? It's like I think it was with you. It's like if you get into, because there are some assholes out there that are like,
Oh no,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's
I'll
some
help you, but
dickheads,
you
but
but
like,
you gotta pay me for my 30 seconds of a voice memo advice that I'm gonna give you. And it's like if
yeah,
you get into a car wreck, I think you mentioned this, or like obviously this is an example that everybody kind of has heard over and over again. But if you get into a car wreck, it's not like you're never gonna drive again. And I think people have like bad experiences of asking for help, and then they use that like bad experience to never ask for help again. And they may not be like consciously thinking about, oh, I had a bad experience with that person, so therefore I'm never gonna ask for advice any longer. I think subconsciously it's like, damn, like I'm kind of afraid to ask because last time, and it's not like you're literally thinking about it again. It's kind of like a gut feeling. You have to get over that gut feeling of like, I I can't ask for help. I can't ask for help. I'm gonna look like a dummy. You got to get over that. And you never really look like a dummy. It's
yeah.
actually fun
Or
for the person who's gonna teach you.
it actually is. And you know what's one of my favorite things? And like now that you kind of bring it up, it brought it up perfectly. Is when I was doing my group call. So like every Thursday I do a community call with all my members. They'll come on
Hmm.
Zoom and we just talk about shit. And two of my members were talking about how they hated their jobs, they didn't want to do certain things, like they were just sick of what they're doing. What like one's a lawyer who's like successful, is like, well, my burnout in lawyers is really really high, makes sense. And then the other
Hmm.
one's a nurse in the healthcare industry, again high burnout because
Hmm.
really high stress jobs. But they were talking to me about like they wanted to find certain things, and one was saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk to some other wine people I know, see if they know anyone in the industry for connections." And I was like, why don't you just start creating videos online, start doing wine tastings where you're essentially you have a bottle of wine, you do a wine
Hmm.
tasting, you describe it, you describe the tannins and all that shit, and they give it a review. You break down the decanters, different wine glasses, you break
Yeah.
down what wines are, like tannins, how they're made in barrels, like all these different things.
Yeah.
And fuck, so many, like again, well, let's be honest, there's a bunch of wine snobs out there who love fucking wine. And you know what? There's
Yeah.
another thing where a lot of people they start getting into wine not because it's like they want to drink, because it's an experience to learn these different types of wines and these histories and all these things. But people want to learn this stuff and people want to know. So instead of like going to like a wine tasting class, which people one don't have fucking time for, two they don't want to go to the physical location because it's just like, well, you think about it, a gym, now you're kind of boxing yourself in. And then the other part too is if you created something where you're showing a social media presence, then you have something to where you can have a Facebook group to where you do live wine tastings on Mondays, on Monday or Wednesday and Friday nights, and then you do little lessons on other stuff. You don't want people drinking every day of the week in your group, even though they
Hmm.
want to. Um,
Hmm.
but again, like then you can create a business based off that where it's just community based off being a sommelier, but then you create it yourself. And she's like, I never even thought about that. I'm like, and like that's the biggest thing. So many people have all these amazing ideas, all these great ideas for themselves. Like and like my other client wanted to do baking, and like she loves baking and all these things and all these different recipes she makes. I'm like, make those, post them, and then have your own online cooking class.
Hmm.
Again, another way to make it a side hustle, but again, something you're passionate about. But again, she was like, I didn't even think about that. It's the same type of thing. Bring your ideas to someone that you want to talk to. But I feel like that's another really, really big, actually, I think two reasons why. But I think the biggest reason why people, what stops people from doing it is because they're fearful of getting their ideas shot down and called that it's stupid. The other part with that I feel as well is because the person that they might talk to, it might be what we call a frenemy, who will be really excited about certain things, but then also be secretly like, no, you shouldn't do that because it's actually a good idea. And I think you'll be successful. I don't want you more successful than me. So then you also got to look at who you talk to about that.
Hmm.
But it's also understanding you don't just need to talk to one person. It's getting multiple different sources. It's getting resourceful, talking to people, asking for help, giving ideas. Because someone can say that one thing that changes your fucking life. Changed my life when I got out of the gym and went online.
Hmm.
Same thing for you.
Yep. Yep. 100%. The big thing here is not being afraid of asking for help, especially if you're going to put your back up against the wall and you're trying to get out of a situation that you're in, like a 9 to 5. If the 9 to 5 is what you want to get out of, and if the entrepreneurial life is something that's brand new to you, you need to ask for help. It is not bad to ask for help. Last week, I told you guys that there are two paths that you can take. You can go the slow route and learn it yourself, but you're going to have some kind of security there, maybe some income put to the side, savings, whatever. Or the second path is to ask for help to expedite the process in which you will do and learn at the same time, rather than path one, which is mostly just learning. So if your back is up against the wall, choose a path. Don't be afraid of asking for help. And this will ultimately give you better answers than sitting at your desk trying to calculate all these things on your own. So, with that being said, like moving into a career for, let's go back to coaches, moving into a career of either being a business owner or an assistant coach, you have to look at, am I actually self aware of what I want? Am I actually self aware of my struggles that I have? Am I actually self aware if I want to fix these struggles? And if I do want to fix these struggles, then I need to ask for help. If I don't want to fix these struggles, then fine, be an assistant coach. Fine, go work for somebody. Okay. It's also the desire, right? If you have no intentions of wanting to do the hard things that come with business ownership, then it's fine. No worries. But don't sit there and bitch and complain and say, I try to be a business owner, but that shit was too hard.
But one thing I
It's not
want to
about
just
being
say
hard; it's
when
about
you're
desire.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to say, and like I'll let you continue in a sec. It has nothing to do with you not wanting to do the things that you need to do to be a business owner. It's it's the understanding that you might not be good at absolutely everything, and it's
Yeah.
okay
Also
not
as
to
well.
be. So you can
Also as
go and
well.
get help for that. But before you make that decision, are you going to double down on yourself and actually try, or are you
Yes.
wanting to spend your time building someone else's dream when you are just uncomfortable
Yes.
because you think you have to do everything? Again, just like a fitness client, you don't have to do everything. Again,
Yes.
they're doing the workouts, you're the one doing the plans and things, you're giving them the tools, you're setting them up for success. So why don't you let someone else do that for you with your business and
Yes.
actually give you the steps and actually work with you? Not just, hey, here's the steps, here's this course. It's here's this, work with you
Yes.
and get going with that. So that's where you want to make the right decisions. Is this the right thing for you to give up on yourself? Or do you just have to be more self-aware on the things you're not good at to outsource for those things, so that way you can now take those steps forward?
Yeah. Outsourcing is part of it. It's like there are companies for everything nowadays, guys. Like that is why if everybody was good at everything at the same time, there would be no reason for companies to start up. So let's kind of just take Coca-Cola for example, right? You think Coca-Cola does all their research in the same building that they do their shipping, and in the same building that they do their marketing, and in the same building that they do their ads, and in the same building that they do their filming? Do you think they also do Gatorade in the same building? No, they're outsourcing to different locations. It's kind of like Best Buy. You think Best Buy owns every single product that's in the store? No. It's called let's start something with one product. Let's build. Well, let's take Amazon. Amazon is a great example, right? He starts off selling used books, and then from there grew the business. Noticed that there was a need for other things, outsourced for that, got good at that, outsourced for more. It's like, oh shit, I'm busy. Fast forward 20 plus years. Now your Amazon package doesn't come in an Amazon truck anymore. Not always. Sometimes it's just another kid in his little like SUV and they drop off the packages now. Talk
Or
about
a drone.
outsourcing or a drone in certain areas. So talk about outsourcing, right? Is the Amazon truck the best way? Yes, because it's the safest. It's secure. Like it doesn't belong. It belongs to Amazon. Liability insurance and everything's probably much better on the Amazon truck, and it's locked. And the shelving in the truck is much better than somebody's Chevy Blazer, right? So it's one of those things
Don't
that
talk shit about the Blazers. I had
hey,
one.
the Blazers are cool. The new Blazers are cool. I'm a Chevy guy till I die. I got a Tahoe,
I
but
had the Trailblazer SS. I won't lie, it was
uh,
fucking gangster.
I love it. I love it. You look like the type of person that I had a Monte Carlo. I had a 99 Monte Carlo as my first
Yeah,
car.
you look like the person with that money. Yeah, but I was gonna say now. I'm like, so wait, which one fits me better, the Trailblazer SS or a blacked out Audi? Like, you kind of the same fucking animal at that point.
Yeah. No, I had a 99 Monte Carlo. But again, to go back to this outsource, like try to get good at it. Did Amazon try to do all of the delivery themselves at the beginning? Probably. And then they're like, fuck, this is too much. Right. So these are things that you guys can kind of take into consideration of like what big companies are, and don't say, oh Kevin, I'm not a big company. To a degree, like we all operate the same way. Like we all have things that we're not good at that we need to go search for help in other areas, and we need to just recognize this isn't our thing. Like Coca-Cola is not an aluminum distributor. They don't distribute the aluminum for the Coke can. Somebody else does that, right? So it's like that. You guys have to
I
recognize.
don't know. I just got a funny one in my head where it's
Go
like,
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
imagine like those guys that are like the computer like analysts or like the creators or whatever, that are making the iPhones and shit, just doing all the techie shit. You think
Yeah.
they're the ones going up to do the marketing, going to sell shit, talk to people and all that? Fuck no, they're not.
Fuck no. Fuck
Have
no,
you
they're
ever
not.
met an engineer? I have a couple friends who are engineers and like introverted as fuck. Like
Yes.
they're literally the types of guys that don't give a shit other than their work, and they'll wear Crocs to the damn office and they'll not talk to a single soul.
Not talk to a
Walk
single
dead
soul.
ass straight like this. Like me getting an answer out of them is like prying teeth, and I'll send like 10 messages like bro, man, like pull out. But again, same type of thing.
Trust
You
me, I
think
know.
those engineers are doing the marketing and all that? You think Steve Jobs
Mhm.
is the ones doing all these? You think he's the one fucking in there putting all, well, was the one putting all the little microprocessors and shit?
Mhm.
No, he wasn't.
Everybody has a role that they play, and giving it a shot for a little bit of time is not bad. But if I can give you one advice, like again, like I sound probably like a broken record. When you're going to try something new, try to go with the goal of becoming self-aware if you're gonna be good at this or not. Like, let's see how good I can. Like, where's the bar for marketing in the fitness world? Where is that? And can I get to that bar? And if I can't get to that bar alone, then go search for assistance. That's what I was saying. And this applies to anything else, right? Grant Cardone the other day, I was listening to his podcast. He was like, and I used to work at McDonald's, and I was getting paid like at the time he said he was getting paid like six something, right? And there was another guy next to him that was also getting paid six something. And Grant Cardone was like, I'm sure everybody who's listening to this knows who Grant Cardone is, but Grant Cardone was like, I was showing up dreading it, didn't want to come. And the guy next to me was showing up in love with it. Why? Because he was self aware that he wanted to open up a McDonald's. I was self aware that I fucking hated this job and I didn't ever want to do this again. So if you can be self aware, if you can be self aware of your daily task of what you're doing and what you're looking to get out of it, you'll know. So for the guy that was working next to Grant Cardone, he was self aware that he wanted to learn from other people, okay, from other people in the McDonald's on how to open up a McDonald's, learning every little bit and doing probably the fries, then probably doing the burgers, then cleaning up, then being out in the front, charging people, drive through, in the back, right? All the things versus Grant Cardone was like, how do I get the money to maybe invest for this guy so he can open up his McDonald's, but I'm not working the McDonald's, right? So and that's okay. Like they're just both self-aware of what they want. And some people, they do the task, they show up to McDonald's and they're not either one of them. They're not Grant Cardone who hates the job, and they're not the other guy who wants to open up the McDonald's. They're just kind of like there. And then that's when people are like, oh, fuck it, I'm out of here. When you could have gotten something out of it. You could have gotten, never again will I work McDonald's because McDonald's just isn't for me. I don't want to open up a McDonald's. Or you can end up being the person who wants to open up the McDonald's. But don't just be in the middle, not being self aware of what you want out of the position that you're in right now.
Yeah, because then those people just go on to work at Wendy's or Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Same damn thing, just a different hat. And like that's the exact
Same
same. But
damn thing,
again,
just a different hat.
it
Exactly.
goes the
I know
same way
exactly what
with
you mean with that.
right,
Yep.
and it goes the same way with everyone else. Like we continuously fall
Yeah.
in and out of these traps of doing X, doing Y, doing Z. Shit didn't work, and then okay, I'm gonna do it again. Doing X, doing Y, doing Z. It doesn't work again. Well,
Yeah,
no
like how many
fucking
people do you know
surprise.
that it's funny that you say that same damn thing, doing different, wearing different hats, because I know so many people that are like working someplace and then they go and work at another place that's similar, and I'm
Yeah,
like, well, why'd
and
you why'd you
yeah.
leave in the first place? Oh, I don't
Right,
really know. Like I
yeah,
needed to
and then
change.
they're like, I hate this just as much. It's like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, because they weren't really self-aware as to what they wanted, or they wanted it too quickly, which again leads back to self-awareness. Like, when are you gonna get certain things out of this, right?
Oh my god. I,
So
I fell into that. Actually, now that I think of it, I fell into that completely. When I was a bartender, literally went from like restaurant to bar to club to fucking restaurant. Like, and then people get caught. And like, you see, like the lifers that are servers, they get caught into the same rotation. Oh, you worked at Boston Pizza, you worked at Joey's, you worked at Earl's, you worked at the Keg, you worked at this, you worked at that, worked at on the border, worked at this. It's like, okay, so you ever gonna leave a serving job? Like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the serving job. I did it for a long
Mm.
time. But I mean, like, if you're sitting there and you're like, I fucking hate this. I hate the long hours. I hate the fact I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. I don't like doing this. I hate getting drunk all the time because everyone wants to drink. It's like over and over again, expecting a different result. The definition of fucking insanity. We'll stop being sane. And if something is working, disrupt the flow of the order of
Yeah,
things.
you got to do something different. A lot of people just like they have a problem with their manager. They have a problem with a coworker, and then they leave to literally go and do something, do the same thing somewhere else at a different restaurant, just for to follow your example, right? or if you're working, let's say, phone sales somewhere, you go do phone sales somewhere else, and it all stemmed because you just didn't know really what you want. And because you don't know what you want, all you're doing is like trying out different places. And not it would make much more sense if you were like a bartender, I feel. And I've never been a well, I was a little bit of a I got my liquor license for one fun reason. We went to Miami last year, and then I was like, Sierra, these fucking bartenders in Miami, they look like they're having a blast. So I came back to Indiana, got my bartending license, and helped Sammy out at his lounge for like 3 months, just to kind of get it out of me. But uh, just to kind of make it make sense, it's like if you're unhappy with like your bartending job, and you're like, management sucks, all this sucks, and then you leave to go do another bartending job somewhere else, more than likely you're going to have the same issues. It would probably make more sense if you took a break from the bartending life and did something like, let me go work at Best Buy,
Or go
right?
sell some cars.
Go sell some cars or do something different and really remove yourself to be like, okay, maybe it wasn't my manager, maybe it was just me, and I really did enjoy the bartending life. Let me go back at it and have a different perspective on how I need to speak to people, because doing the same thing at one restaurant or the other, it's the same job anyways. If you go do cars and you're like, oh, I fucking hate cars, and then you go do the other job and you switch to a third thing, and then you say, oh, I fucking hate this, then now you got to be self-aware of you. It's not the job. Now
Yeah,
you
then
got to
maybe
be,
maybe you just don't like sales. Maybe
maybe
you
you
hate
just don't like
people.
sales. Maybe you just don't like people. Yeah, so that's where again it comes into self-awareness. You got to try multiple things out to understand, okay, but you have to lead everything with self-awareness. Like, why am I unhappy with this? And if you can also lead it with like, let's try not to blame anybody for my unhappiness. Let me see if I can
Holy
take full
shit.
responsibility of everything. Then you'll take on a different role in your life, for yourself to know what kind of person you are. If it's more entrepreneur, if it's more of an employee of it. I think there's different types of people. There's like the sheep herder, the person who's the leader, kind of oversees things. There's sheep herders. I think there's sheep dogs who typically follow the lead of the sheep herder and are really hardworking and are still very much like sheep herders, because without the sheep dog, the sheep herder
That's
cannot
it's like
herd
you're
the
like your
sheep.
right, you're like your right hand, like your lieutenant.
You're a right hand, but you're just as equally as important almost. Okay.
Like a
And then there's the
COO.
sheep. And then there's the sheep. The sheep are more of like, without the sheep, there's no reason to get a sheep dog. Okay. And without the sheep, there's no way for you to obviously house people's bodies and warm, comfortable clothing and sheets and things like that. And then there's wolves. Okay. But then there's different types of wolves. There's wolves who have to be aggressive to combat bad wolves, and there's wolves who have to be aggressive to get the sheep because they're hungry. Okay, so you fall into one of those categories. There's two wolves, good and bad. There's sheepdog, and then there's sheep herders. And you need to figure out where you fall into the category of that, because that's how life operates. There's somebody who's always going to lead. There's somebody who's going to be a right hand person to guide everything. There's going to be the general population, the people who are willing to help out for a cause. Okay, the sheep give their wool to help, or their cotton and wool, right? To not cotton, wool, to house people's bodies for a cause. And then there are bad people to destroy the cause, wolves. But then there are bad people or there are good people who have the bad intentions for bad people, right? So you have to
Like
I've
Batman.
always thought of yeah, I've always thought of like things like this, because like, where do I fall in? And I think I'm definitely in between like the sheepdog, and the sheep herder, and sometimes I'm the wolf who can combat the battle. And it may sound stupid, like, oh, Kevin's over here talking about wolves. This is like a stupid analogy, and some of my friends will probably come give me shit about this later, for making this up. But like, truthfully, this is kind of how it all operates. You know, how many people do we know that are okay with getting paid, a decent salary for the rest of their life? That's okay. They have no intentions of doing anything more, and that's okay. So, and then also, how many people want to be sheep herders and are never satisfied with things? I'm very much like that, right? I'm always looking for something better. Um, so those things, I feel like if you can be self-aware of what category to put yourself in, then you can kind of know what kind of career you want to dive into. And then if you dive into certain entrepreneurial careers, like being a fitness coach, then you'll be more self-aware of what kind of help you need to ask for.
There we go. I also
Cool.
think on our episode on Monday, we're going to talk about taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a
100%.
whole live we can talk about.
Cool. Well, we'll end it here then.
I love it.
Pod-A-Holics,
Honestly,
episode 13.
episode 13, we
It's
got
crazy.
another one on Monday. I know, right? This shit's flying. And we got so
It's
many people
crazy.
actually like watching and reaching out about it.
Almost
This
4
is
months of
dope.
doing this. And now we're
This is
on
sick.
YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now. We've had 1 viewer this whole time. Whoever's listening, my lone YouTube viewer, what's up? No, but I appreciate you guys as always. Pod-A-Holics, episode 13. We are out.